I'll give you a general idea of how to play against a certain matchup, what you don't want to do in a certain matchup, and maybe a few key moves for literally the whole cast. And this is like, what, 40 plus characters? I'll try to cover this in 30 minutes. I'll try to cover it in 30 minutes. And we're starting with Alisa. Alisa is one of those characters that poke you to death. It doesn't matter what way, matter or form she's gonna do it. She can do it offensively, defensively, or neutral. She's kind of like Steve, but a little bit different. So she's just mainly gonna be stacking up a bunch of small stuff. So that could be stuff like down back 3, then moving away, going for baits, and doing down back 1 to see if you whiff a high or a mid. Checking with while standing 4s, back DF1s and back 1s. Then she could check with a safe DF2, which is pretty annoying. Her jab strings just are pretty much there just to allow her to check again. Yeah, this 12 frame mid is very, very important, along with this really good backdash. And that's mainly what she's going to be focusing on. But of course, again, she can do it in any way, shape, or form. So if she wanted to do it offensively, she'd always go straight into down 3 and go straight for these full crouch mix-ups. Or she could instantly just do running moves and get the big reward and check you again with another running 2, like a la Dragunov. So since she can excel pretty much at most ranges and move around in most ranges, you want to make sure she anytime she gets something big, let's say like a running 2, let's say she gets like a running 2, right? You block it. Don't give her the opportunity to do something big. Like, you want to eliminate as much big things as you can, because she has that ability compared to Steve. Steve doesn't have big stuff aside from down back 3 2, which is very, very short range. Here in Elisa's case, she could do something like down 3 plus 4. You can see that that range is kind of far. She could do stuff like down 3. She could do stuff like back 4 4. She could do stuff like down back 4. Those are the small stuff you want to get rid of, and you need to get rid of those stuff immediately as when playing as Hwoarang. So your optimal punish back 4 4 is dash up 3. You'll always get the launch, and it'll always register as a launch punish. You always want to do that. Of course, when you block down 3, it depends on which range you block down 3. So I could recommend maybe going for maybe just while standing 4 4 or maybe while standing 3. But of course, if you know it's launch punishable from that range, launch it. Like, don't let her get away with it. You want to focus more on playing her in small areas where she does down back 3 while standing 4 and doesn't allow small checks, because she's not sure on whether that she can do those big stuff. But of course, if the Alisa just goes straight up big, then you need to handle those 50-50s and their unga-bunga tendencies. But when it comes more focused on neutral or defense or building up their offense slowly, you want to play along with them, because typically when you're playing along with them, there will be opportunities for you to move around. Let's say she does a check DF1 and you check back with DF1 and you backdash, and maybe she whiffs a move, you could get like a back 3. Or DF1 check into a forward 3, and then maybe they don't press a button. Or if they press a button, it's going to be like down back 1, right, to evade. And you could easily do like maybe an armored move, like LFS back 3, or armor through whatever option they do, and then do down 3 4 and get your small mix-up, check, and then get out. And then do the same thing over and over again. And typically when she's going to panic, her panic would be, it's a typical universal toolkit where she can do a hop kick, a down jab, or down back 1. Down back 1 being the unique portion for Alisa. And that's what you have to watch out most of the time. You have to structure your offense or your flamingo string, or what you're going to check with, to make sure it doesn't usually lose to down back 1. You have to think about it in the back of your head. And of course, when Hwoarang's unable to do most of that, and if he loses to down back 1, like he keeps forcing the highs, typically as Alisa, you're going to win a lot. And you want to just shut down most of the mix-ups at the start. So you don't want to get shut down at the start as Hwoarang. And if they start shutting you down at the start, you need to take major risks immediately. And that goes for all matchups, by the way. That goes for all matchups. If they stop you at the first mix-up, you want to take that risk immediately, because you cannot get stopped at the first mix-up. You want them to give you the first mix-up. At minimum, you deserve to have the first mix-up. If you cannot get the first mix-up, you're in major trouble in any matchup. It doesn't matter how it gets played. But yeah. So again, I mentioned the key moves earlier, but let's go through them again. So mainly down back 3, minus 12 low, minus 12, minus 13, one of the two. Of course, classic mids, running 2 major plus, down 3, know when it's launch punishable, when it's not. That's about it typically. It's a very small kit of safe moves that are gonna just keep poking you non-stop. And of course, magic 4. Sure, it's 13 or 14 frames, but this could always hurt a lot. So that's typically Alisa matchup in general. So we'll move on to Asuka. So if Alisa was kind of like somewhere in between, and it just matters on how you get those small stuff and the big stuff, Asuka's more like controlling your big stuff and making sure you can chicken. Because in this matchup, Asuka has a reversal, and with the reversal, she can basically eliminate most of the Hwoarang strings. So if you do something like 1-2-4 RFS D4, that's easily reversible. You do something like 1-2-3 LFS 3-4, that's easily reversible. You do something like RFF 2-4 RFS 1, that's easily reversible. Because Hwoarang doesn't have moves in his toolkit that are knees or elbows. He only has one heal, and that heal being running 3. And it's a running move, that's important. Since it's a running move, you can only do it from a running stance, and there's a risk of being floated. So if she just check jabs you a lot, she just check jabs you with her 10 frame jab, you could get floated for doing running 3. And back 3 could easily float you when you're doing running 3 as well, that's important. So you have to use that move sometimes. You need to do running 3 sometimes. Of course, the other move that you can't reverse for some reason is back turn 4-3, the second hit of it. Or at least the back turn 4 version of it. Instead of while standing 3-4, it's only the back turn version she can't reverse, which is weird, but it's a small thing. But usually you'll get those opportunities on Okizeme wall combos. Typically running 3 is what you're going to be mixing in neutral a lot, and focusing a little bit more low because reversals can't reverse lows. But at the same time, you need to be able to chicken immediately. So you need to be buffering a lot of your buttons as much as possible. So the moment you enter your small mix-ups or big mix-ups, like when you get the opportunity to do so, you need to make sure you're buffering the last hit. So let's say I wanted to check my opponent. So I'm in left foot forward, and I go straight into right flamingo stance by going down 3-4, and then as soon as I do RFS DF4, I'm doing forward 2+4 because the grab came out there, right? Because I was buffering it immediately right after RFS DF4, just to remove the reversal. You want to make sure you cut out the reversal from the equation in this matchup as much as possible. So in Season 4, Asuka gained a new move that will allow her to Sabaki. She has a new Sabaki that allows her to reverse kicks, and this is a launcher immediately, by the way. So as soon as she reverses your kick, she's gonna get a launcher, and this is a safe move. Of course, it's very slow, it's 24 frames, but this is another move you have to worry about. So as soon as you remove the equation of the reversals, you now have to deal with the Sabaki. And aside from the fact that this is a really good move, it kind of evades most of Hwoarang's moves in Flamingo are kicks, or at least the important ones. And then down back 1 is also going to evade a lot of stuff because the way nature how she goes really low, and this is hit confirmable, it's going to hurt you a lot, and it's like a 14 frame check that she's always going to be throwing out, and SS2 as well. So as soon as you're able to get over reversals and then the Sabaki, the next thing that Asuka is going to be doing typically would be the classic Asuka at this point. You're going to go back 3, can, SS2, forward 2, down back 2 to remove the jabs, the flamingo jabs, and of course down back 1 most especially to keep you in line, especially with DF1 as well, DF2, and she's gonna try to either get in really hard and force you to panic, and then maybe a Sabaki parry could come in between, or a panic move would come in between and it'll beat you, or a magic 4, or she'll wait out a lot and check you at multiple occasions and just chip you and wait for a small error, or throw out or bait you in a certain sequence. And she's typically going to be playing in a closer range compared to Alisa. If Alisa can do it all around, she's going to be typically playing in an area where she can hit you with forward 2. Like she's going to be sitting, that's like pretty much her optimal range. She's not going to sit anywhere else. She's always going to focus there. And she probably also would love to be in front of your face as well because of FF1, big plus frames. And she's going to just keep doing these moves to keep you in check. And yeah, maybe stuff after like a DF1 could easily could easily do the Sabaki, could easily do a down back 1 check, magic 4 check, off a DF1 or a 1-1, stuff like that. So I was already mentioning off the key moves and how it handles in certain situations of what you should and should not do. But of course, just like Alisa, to go over all the key moves again, it's going to be stuff like back 3, which you should punish as much as you can. Punish it as much as you can. Even if back 3 is not as super consistent as it is now in Season 4, you must. The reversal, most especially in this matchup. Magic 4, classic, DF4, DF1, down 4. Basically the rest is all the generic small stuff in neutral, the small mix-ups, but you have to keep an eye out on all of them, keep big notes of them, most especially FC DF2, because this is the one that's going to be responsible for most of those big hits, and she's going to walk up FF2 or FF3. Yeah. So that's Asuka. Now let's move over to Bob, the pseudo Mishima that appeared in Tekken 6. In Season 4, what makes this matchup a little bit more difficult now is the fact that he has a 15-frame launcher, which of course auto screws, and of course Hwoarang has a couple of moves that are launch punishable and from standing, and this is gonna be the major hitter. Or if you're doing down 3-4, this is gonna insta low crush and slap you in the face because Hwoarang's doing a standing low. He's not doing a low that high crushes like down back 3. So Bob is more safe. He's gonna focus on being safe because most of his blows are unsafe. But he can get by with fundamentals mainly, and that's what you're gonna have to worry about, most especially with CD1 now being like a legitimate god fist for him, like Armor King. It's like Jin when this was his regular launcher, when Electric Wind God Fist, Hook Fist launched on normal hit, stuff like that. I guess I'm wrong with that part, but so CD1 is something you'd have to worry about because it's a God Fist now. And of course, the classic 50-50 blender if he wants to do that. He can easily put you in the blender if you want to do it and easily check and get good reward off his checks. You have to worry about that. And formulating your offense isn't that bad against Bob because he's big, so not much of a sidestep. I mean, you can catch him most of the time on sidesteps, but he can still move around. He's quite mobile, most especially with his roll back. So if you attempt to pressure him sometimes, he will just... Well, he won't do that, but I mean, he'll roll back and he'll avoid a lot of pressure and he'll be able to get out of the range Hwoarang wants to be in. And he could just literally hang here and challenge you to come at him before he makes the decision to come at you and maybe do something small like a down back 3 and then move away. Then maybe catch you with a DF2 in neutral. So of course he's playing like a la Mishima in a way, very fundamental, very space-wise. And you just have to fight him in those rules. You have to fight him in those rules. So as Hwoarang, if he's going to be moving around a lot, you want to be fighting for position a lot. So depending on the stage you're in, let's say it's wall-less, right? Position's not really that much of a deal. But you want to keep yourself in an area where his CD1 would whiff, but at the same time, if his CD1 whiffs, you could get the JFSR or move around him so that you the guys are like in a mental battle on who's gonna press a button first, which check button is gonna come out first, DF1, jab, etc. And because you could get the small whiff punishment with like up 4-3+4 or down back 3 into down 3-4 stuff. Yeah, stuff like that. And the moment you get him, you're gonna have to worry about the power crush because forward 1+2 is gonna be like his main get me off tool in the Flamingo mix-ups. And of course he still has like down 1+2, which is like gonna make him evade really, really low. So you have to keep those things in mind. So it could be a power crush or it could be like a really, really good high crush. And of course he still has a generic down jab. And of course, again, as I said earlier, forward 4. It's just that kind of stuff you have to worry about when formulating your offense. Because he has a backswing blow as well, but that's been seldom used. But when they use it, you have to again remember how to formulate it into your offense and integrate it and adjust properly. When you get him, he's pretty much yours most of the time. But yeah, you have to again worry about those few things. And just keep playing around the movement. Again, positioning is very, very key in this matchup. It's not more about moves, it's more about position. And if you let Bob party, it's going to be very, very difficult to get out. Just like if you let Asuka go in as much as she can. It's going to be very difficult to get out because you're going to be panic back one-ing a lot and he's going to get really good punishes on forward 2-3. What the key moves are. So that's like CD1, it's going to be down 1, it's going to be DF2. DF2, again, remember DF2, it's going to be big. Down back 3, down back 4, his only high crushing low. The roll in any way, or maybe it's coming up from a forward 2, whatever. A forward 2 into roll, right? You can, I believe you can. But basically there's a move that he can in the into roll. And of course the small stuff like back 2, DF2, DF1, you know, all the small stuff. And of course you have to, again, just like most matchups, don't get hit too much by punishes. Like if you're gonna get hit by a punish, make sure you have enough life bar, risk reward ratio, etc. So that covers Bob. Let's move on to the next matchup. So Bryan's the next matchup. So basically Bryan wants to be sitting in a range similar to Asuka, baiting or doing defensive panic tools that crush really, really well. But it's for the sake that he can size you up because Bryan can size you up easily with QCB3, hatchet kick in that range. So if he's like sitting somewhere here and maybe you whiff a jab to bait him and he walks in and then he dash blocks and then he can just straight up do the hatchet kick or walk up down 4. And then if you whiff something big, you'll do F4, F4-1. and that's going to give him a big launch. And of course, if you whiff even bigger from a farther range, F2 is going to come in. And you make sure you back roll that, because if you don't back roll that, he gets guaranteed down for soccer kick, QCB4. So he's going to be sending this range a lot. He doesn't want to make sure, he doesn't want to leave you a lot. And just like Bob, if I said positioning is really, really important, this is far more important with Bryan, because if you let him get this taunt in open, I mean, they're going to earn it a lot in open. You can play neutral and whatnot, but don't put yourself in a position where Bryan can push you to the wall. Try to get out as much as you can the moment Bryan gets you to the wall. Because if Bryan gets you to the wall, you're in a vortex, you're in the blender non-stop, because the taunt can keep coming, and if it's not the taunt, it's going to be a really good check mid, and if it's not check mid, it's going to be a low that's going to hurt you. And if you get counter hit by hatchet kick, it got buffed in season 4, so it's going to be into another Oki option wherein he can still get the taunt jet up or any taunt mix up afterwards. You see, you want to focus a lot more on position and not letting him, you know, win the life lead battle a lot in neutral. If he does, you can easily pressure Bryan a lot, because he doesn't have a lot of panic tools aside parry, basic down jab, orbital, so it's not really a lot. So you can usually keep him in line, right? You can check him a lot. So the key moves for this matchup would be stuff like forward 3, this mid's plus, it's gonna hurt you a lot. Make sure you're stepping in the direction where most of his moves whiff. Of course, most lows, most especially this one. This is the more main low compared to hatchet kick. This one's gonna evade a lot of your stuff, most especially mix-ups from DF13, RFS F4. Yeah, this is stuff he's gonna do, or generic low. Oh wait, no, he doesn't. Yeah, this mainly. This is like the DF13 killer. This is like his main go-to option there, so you need to. And this sets up a lot, because he can easily check you with, even if he's -1, he could easily check you with this. And then he could just move at -1 as well. So you have to be worrisome about this one situation, because it could build into multiple hatchet kicks. So yeah, this is typically, he's going to be sitting around a very close range. Very similar to Asuka, but he wants to get position, and he's going to keep checking you in ways to get that position. So other key moves, hatchet kick naturally, of the taunt, 3+4. This is gonna keep pushing you towards that wall. DF2 and the DF2 counterparts, again difficult for Hwoarang to punish. DF1 1 strings just to keep you in check, so you could do maybe something else afterwards. So yeah, those are most of the key moves. Again, so that's Bryan against Hwoarang. We'll go to the next matchup. Claudio's the next character. So against Claudio, like Alisa, he can dance in a lot of ranges. Most definitely because of the running 2. And of course, F3 got nerfed into being a high, but that doesn't deter Claudio, because from this range, this could be a running 2, very similar to Dragunov, but at the same time, you could easily just do DF3. And the DF3 mix-ups are very, very important. DF3 1, DF3 2, back 3, down 4, and then of course SS4. You know, those stuff are the biggest in this matchup. You're not really going to be worrying about his DF1 a lot, it's 15 frames. It's going to be typically the 1-2 into sidestep into hop kick. So even if he can play in a lot of ranges just like Alisa, he has more plus frames compared to Alisa. So Alisa's more of like a neutral. Of course, she can go big as well, because she's got really, really big moves, and Claudio has lesser big moves compared to her. Not unless he gets Starburst. That's when he can do big moves like down 2-2. So he's gonna be typically a lot closer, very similar to Bryan in that range, but he could also move out if he wanted to, because he's got running 2, and that's just gonna cover a lot of space. Even if it's a little bit obvious, he could just run up to you and just do FF4. So it is a mix-up in between those two things. So while he can play in different ranges, he's typically gonna enter way closer to you and just try to get as much plus frames as he can, and oppress you with these strings to position you in ways that he wants, and maybe get a small big counter hit here and there, and then hop kick, because of the way hop kick tracks and crushes. So as Hwoarang, what you want to do there is don't give most of his checks for free. You don't want to give most of his checks for free. There's really not much you could do about the running to FF4. You could just easily block that and not fuzzy it or step it, depending on your opponent's tendency. So you could just let those go. So you want to play more around when he's negative. So let's say he does a raw DF3 and he never follows it up with anything, a delayed 1 or a delayed 2, DF3 2, delayed 3, DF3 1. You want to play with his negatives immediately. So like, okay, because he might hopkick, so you could check him with the DF1 and straight into 1 2 4, or go straight up into 1 2 4 F4, stuff like that. You want to take your chance at hitting him before he gets a chance to put you in a quote-unquote mix with these delayable strings. For the most part, most of his panic options will usually involve the hop kick, or like his new power crush, or his new really good move to space that gives. Yeah, that's also another reason why a range is not exactly an issue for Claudio. He can play at multiple ranges because of this move. Yeah, that move. Yeah, so again, key moves: hop kick, SS4, the DF3 strings, all of them. Know how to punish these things. Back 3, back 3, 3. FF4, running 2, F3. That's about it. So that's the Claudio matchup. Devil Jin, just like Bob, is going to be about movement, neutral, positioning. But of course, Devil Jin can force it a little bit more because unlike the other characters' hell sweeps, other Mishima hell sweeps, he has a new hell sweep in Season 4. They brought back the Tag 2 hell sweep, Tekken 6 hell sweep, where he can just literally gain plus frames to doing a hell sweep, and you're not really gonna challenge this. I don't challenge it as well. So he's gonna check DF1U. So it's what he does after each subsequent plus or check. Like that's when you want to start playing with him. So if he does like a God Fist, that's when you check what he does next. You always want to know what they do next after a big move. So like they say down back 4, maybe 1-1 on hit, or while standing 4, or God Fist on block, stuff like that. You want to know what they're going to do next. So maybe you'd have to wait a round or 2, typically, when you first play them or in your early set. And then after that, once you have that information, you can run with it. Because typically they do stuff like 1 to DF2, or, while standing 4, back 4, or God Fist into God Fist, FF4, to check you, or, Waivu Demon's Paw, Waivu Hell Sweep, etc. So you want to be challenging Devil Jin typically when he starts checking, right? Because as much as he can take his offense in spades, he needs to risk to get that offense, typically by doing the Hell Sweep or down back 2. If he takes it slower, his most riskiest low would be down back 2 to down 4. That's like all he's gonna do. And he's gonna run away, God Fist, DF1, sidestep, God Fist again while standing 4. Then maybe he'll throw out a panic up 4. And of course, remember your panic against panic up 4, your main anti-option for it is back 3. It will beat both up 4 up and just up 4. And if it's up 4 up, you'll get a float combo. If it's up 4, you'll get a full launch. That's what Devil Jin's gonna do. Typically, if he goes big, he's going big, and most of the mids that he has typically will not turn into a launcher except CD3. So that's when you have to worry if he's getting you with the CD3, a Hell Sweep mix-up. Typically, you just want to let him get away with the up forward 4 into Hell Sweep mix-up. That's like not so bad compared to CD3 into Hell Sweep mix-up. You don't want that. And if you can minimize it even more, that he only gets checks, and he doesn't get like the counter hit launch on DF2, that's even better. Of course, as soon as he gets the wall, again, positioning is very important, and you have to make sure you've labbed the forward 1+2 situation. Again, it's just back 1 or back 1-2 situation where he cancels. Those are very important in this matchup, because he's gonna start abusing the wall, because he knows, because he can, because on the cancel of back 1-2, he usually beats out the opponent with a jab. And of course, he can easily keep you in place with that. So this you have to worry about. So tackling this again, you have to attack him at the checkpoints when he gives you checks, and eventually maybe throw your weight around. Because the most Devil Jin could do as a panic would be back 3 or up 4. And if you use options that typically cover that, just like most panic options, you'll be fine. So as soon as he checks you, you take as much as you can, move in, and take as much as you really take as much as you can, and then move out. And then that's when you have to start worrying about the God Fist, the Hell Sweep, and keep moving back. Right? Keep moving. So again, to reiterate, the key moves in this matchup: God Fist, Hell Sweep, down back 2, and most of the cancel moves forward 1+2, back 1-2, and of course, yeah, that's about it. So that's the Devil Jin matchup. So next is the Dragunov matchup, and Dragunov, what he typically wants to do is force errors. He's gonna force errors. So he's gonna move around in range, and he can move around a little bit farther, somewhere near Alisa or Asuka range, and just straight up. It's also similar to Bryan's, but a little bit farther than Bryan's because of the movement ability that he has, and straight up just QCF1, or you know that, a forward one. QCF1's the biggest offender of this because he gets big launches after it. Straight into Oki, which is either another running 2, back 1+2, or down 2. Against down 2, again, just forward 3, LFS back 1, you're gonna beat most options, most while-standing options. Don't let him take down 2. This is gonna dictate the pace of the game a lot if he takes this low. It's okay if you just block on the running 2 mix-ups or back 1+2 mix-ups, that's totally fine. Most of the other moves would just be checks, and he'd just be trying to find his way in order to set more pressure available, or more ways to force an error out of you so that he can just get that big counter hit launcher on running 2, or maybe counter hit on down 2, and just keep revving the pressure on you and move a lot. So again, Hwoarang is what you do. You don't want to let him get that one way to get the pace of the game, which is down 2. And you don't want to whiff haphazardly at all. Don't whiff. Don't try him. Don't try Dragunov. I mean, it's the same thing with most matchups, and that includes Bob, Asuka, Devil Jin, etc. Characters with long-range punishers, but more in case in Dragunov's, because he will really look for that, and then he'll force it out of you. And of course, he's got a really good grab game as well, so make sure your throw break game's on point. Yeah, so as soon just make sure as soon as you get hit by down 3, forward 3, LFS back 1, get rid of it. Don't let him have it. So as soon as he always keeps testing himself in that situation, at least that's one situation where you can leverage Hwoarang stuff immediately. So sometimes he might wait after down 2 instead of doing that, so he doesn't punish you. You can just do down 3, forward 3, and then go straight into the mix. And then after, you could challenge him with the backlash if he's looking for a running 2, or he's looking to do QCF1. You could whiff maybe like RFF2 and then backlash, something like that. Just small stuff. So again, key moves: running 2, down 2, while standing 4, back 2, really good mid. 4-1, this jails, so make sure when he does 4-1 in range, you can duck the high. QCF1, really good move. Yeah, back 1+2, forced mix-ups. Yeah, so that's the Dragunov matchup. So Eddy's the next matchup. Eddy's typically just a hit and run. So as soon as he gets that low in, what's that? That's DF4, right? As soon as he gets that in, he's getting out. Most especially if you're playing an infinite stage, you're in deep trouble because that's already slightly Eddy's favor. Of course, don't use moves that Eddy can avoid by him going into relax or handstand. Yeah, handstand, there you go. Don't use moves. Make sure you learn what moves hit those stances. So for relax, it's back 3. For handstand, down back 4-4 could work. DF4, DF1, small stuff like that. But of course, you have to worry about the power crush that's in there. So that's what he's going to do typically. If he enters handstand, he's going to be checking you with that. If he's in relax, he's going to really be trying to force a mix-up. He's going to use the big low or the launcher in there. Okay. And of course, it's major hit and run. So if it's a walled stage and you're down in the life lead and he's running away, don't run away from him. Even if he's going to counter hit DF2. He's trying to fish for a counter hit DF2, which you can sidestep right, by the way. Keep pushing towards him so that he has lesser space to run away, so that you can make up for lost ground immediately. So the key moves here would be DF2, down back 4, back 3-3 delayed, which will enter relax, and of course back 1-4, SS3 floor. This is difficult. Sometimes Hwoarang doesn't get the punish on it, even if back 3's range got increased. Oh, this one as well. This is major counter hit. Major counter hit. Offender, down back 3-2. Yeah, so that's the Eddy matchup. So the Feng matchup, pretty much ever since Season 1, is creating strings or setups to not get hit by back 1. That's as simple as it gets. And of course, once you shed the layer of back 1, you're going to be focusing on other panic options, which is shifting clouds. Back 3 plus 4. If back 3 plus 4 is shifting clouds. I know forward 3 plus 4. Forward 3 plus 4 has auto parries in it as well, so you have to build stuff around that. You have to worry about those 3 particular options. Back 1, back 3 plus 4, forward 3 plus 4. And that's not to mention up forward 2, which is really, really evasive. So, Feng is more up close. More up close. He's similar in Bryan's range as well. And he can really launch punish you hard. With forward 3, 4, he can do that. And forward 1 plus 2. So he's going to be sitting in Bryan's range, but he knows he can go a little bit further, but at the same time, he's not going to go that far. And just check you with a forward 3. And again, any move into back 1. You have to keep that in your head. It could be any move into back 1, any move into forward 2, any move, any Oki situation into back 3 plus 4, forward 3 plus 4. And these lows hurt. But you make sure you punish all the lows, most especially down back 3. Because it got the counter hit property that's going to put you in a really, really bad mix, which is not good. Moves to watch out here, again, back 1, main, lows, down back 3, and down 2, biggest offenders. The shoulder, 13 frame punish, hurts a lot, and sets up Feng's stuff. He's going to do that. Back 4, this is another key move. And of course, the movement options, back 3 plus 4, forward 3 plus 4. Yeah. So that was the Feng matchup. So the Gigas matchup in Season 4 is a little bit different. JFSR has been buffed into -8. So Gigas can no longer punish just frame skyrocket, but that you shouldn't take that like, oh, okay, so Gigas can't do anything in the Hwoarang matchup. No, it's not like he can't. He can still check you as soon as you do just frame skyrocket. Check jab you. Check DF1. So even if you do JFSR, he's going to immediately jab, he's going to immediately do a DF1. He's going to try to keep you in check and keep you in a range where he can hit you. And he's just going to keep Hwoarang out of his range while instantly bullying him. So it's like an offensive type keep out. And remember that down back 2 is -14 because this is going to be the major load that's going to keep giving him plus frames and keep pushing you more and more into the wall. And of course, when he starts entering this stance, again, back 3 would beat most options. If he's doing it on block, of course. He's entering Golem on block. Back 3 is going to beat most options. Most especially if he enters Golem, commits Golem. If he doesn't commit Golem 2-1 and then you back 3, you're going to lose. So you have to react on that properly. Again, he's going to keep you here. So you want to beat him. Again, most of his best moves are jabs. Or jab-oriented, aside from DF3 1. DF3, DF4, F4, forward 3, down 3. But the small lows are fine, you can easily eat those, but the down back 2 you don't really want to give him because it gives him really, really big momentum to move in. Of course, there are some moves that will give him a launch if he armors it with down 3 plus 4, which is just a small fuse, and typically you wouldn't be doing those moves anyway. Most of the punishes are gonna set up Goliath mix-ups, so if he gets a 1-2, he could easily just enter this, and if you don't recognize that, you're in trouble if he does it. If he just does a raw Goliath, or he could do 1-2 and just instantly charge this and then enter Goliath as well. So of course, to go around it, you want to be using a little bit of the punch parry, and you want to high crush, and generally try to get a little bit out of Gigas' range, but then go in again to get down 3-4s in because he can't sidestep most of the mix-ups at all, being a big character, and this is going to apply to a few others as well. So it's going to be very important against big characters to get the mix-ups that you can. And it's the challenge. The problem is trying to get into that range as safely as possible. So the key moves for this matchup would typically be a jab, DF1, down back 2, down 3-2, and the Goliath ones. The Golem ones, not so much. The only thing in Golem that's really mainly to worry about is the low and the throw. Just those two. So that was the Gigas matchup. So the Heihachi matchup is very similar to the Devil Jin matchup, except the difference is if Devil Jin's most big moves are like hell sweeps typically, Heihachi's biggest moves would be FF2, down back 2, and that's about it. And the FC sweep. So just like Devil Jin, Bob, he's going to be moving around in certain ranges, moving around, typical Mishima. And he's gonna look for this God Fist. See if he can bully you with the FF2 and get his way with down back 2, and then take it in the mix up with FCDF4. That's what he's gonna typically try to do. Of course, he can play it safe as well. DF1, 1 back 2, and just generally move in ranges where he could get that God Fist. Most Mishimas would anyway. So he could easily run in and get out. And he could typically get out of a lot of Hwoarang strings simply because of back 3 plus 4. And you have to remember that he has a parry, a reversal. So you have to worry about that as well. Of course, he has major risk when he does this compared to other characters, like maybe like Asuka. Major risk compared to them. Because as soon as he does it, Asuka has a shorter version and a long version. The long version making her have more risk. But this one, as soon as Heihachi does it, major risk. Make sure you punish him for it immediately. So again, typical matchup, just like against Bob and Devil Jin. You want to be moving around on their checks, mostly on the checks. For Heihachi, worry a little bit about the reversal, and just play basic neutral and you'll be totally fine. So again, key moves in this matchup would be God Fist, 1 back 2, back 4 and forward 3, similar timings. The double hell sweep, make sure you down jab the second hell sweep, because the second hell sweep is -10. Down back 2, the FC low, DF1 2, F4, and FF2. So yeah, that's the Heihachi matchup. So the Hwoarang mirror is interesting. Most things in left flamingo, left foot forward, right foot forward, would lose to stuff like back 1. Would typically lose to stuff like against back 1, which is funny. Hwoarang can get out of his own pressure really, really fast, not unless it's about right flamingo. And right flamingo, he's going to be checked really, really hard by toothbrush, RFS F4, and that's the time you can't back 1. So most of the situations are more or less even, or slightly in Hwoarang's favor, defensively. Yes. Since he could back 1 a lot of the stuff, and if that Hwoarang is not fully right flamingo savvy or centric, the most of the stuff he could do is usually just LFS back 3 or RFS back 4. These are the stuff that are going to prevent back 1 from being used most of the time, and armoring. And of course, getting mix-ups on hit a lot, and focusing a lot on the first mix-up. Because the moment you enter the second mix-up, so let's say I do something like RFS down 3-4 into that, that's a second mix-up, because the second hits are going to get blocked, and back 1's going to be a good number of options if you're not doing the option that's guaranteed. So it could be a game of who's able to prevent 1 first, who's able to prevent back 1 first, who's able to chip away at an opponent first, or keep control of an opponent's strings first. Yeah. So again, the key moves in this matchup to watch out for would be, of course, down 3-4. You want to watch out for back 1 a lot, -14. Make sure you get the really big juicy punish on this. JFSR, make sure you take your check on this as much as you can. Make sure you double check his JFSR. You walk into his space and just dash block and see if he's going to pull off something. Forward 3. DF1 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 4. Again, RFS F4. Yeah, so that's the Hwoarang mirror matchup. Let's move on to the next. So Jack has always been in a weird place against Hwoarang because Jack can out pressure Hwoarang at points, and Jack also has a forward 2, 10 frame forward 2, which is something exactly that you'd have to worry about, just like with Feng. So this will abruptly stop most pressure, and he has a move that can't be punished consistently when down 1+2, so that's a little bit worrisome. So the moment he does this move, you just typically want to just walk into his space or do down back 3 or whatever, and try to go from there. Of course, down back 1, this is gonna be how he's gonna be moving in a lot, moving in out, down back 1, then FF1 checks, and you just want to typically just continue stepping left and dealing with those 2 check tools that he has. And of course, when you get him, again, just like all big characters, as soon as you get him, you want to keep him as much as you can. But of course, unlike those characters, you have to worry about forward 2. So unlike Gigas, you don't have to worry about much, but here you'd have to worry about this. Yeah, that's like an issue. So of course, key moves in this matchup would be FF1, DF2. This is gonna hurt you a lot. It crushes highs a little bit. Down back 1, main low. Of course, he has a safer low. FC down back 1, I think, is safer. And of course, he's got a lot of nice lows. He could be really, really good at chipping you. So you gotta remember that. 2-1, 2-1, 2-1-1, 2-1-1? 2-1-2, 2-1-2. be a little bit patient against that move as well. And of course, I can't do the inputs, but Debugger and the Blue Spark, his Blue Spark Fist. I know it starts with EM something something, but yeah, that move. Yeah, so that's a Jack matchup. So the Jin matchup, we covered this before in Open Hwoarang Lessons 4, but again for Open Hwoarang Lessons 5, they'll cover it a little bit in more detail. So again, he's going to be sitting around in a range where he's very comfortable with just hitting you with F4 and keeping space with F4 and God Fist and making sure that he can just control you from over here while continuously pushing you towards the wall, which is not exactly good because the moment he gets that, he's going to get down back 4s and that's going to be major pluses and you can't exactly press a +3 because if you do, he's going to hit you with maybe a Magic 4, a DF1, or a Forward 3. And of course, there are times and places where you need to challenge and make sure you challenge a little bit early, but not exactly as soon as he gets you at the wall because he's probably going to go for something big or a major check like a DF1 for you. So what you want to counter that is he's going to be sitting in his optimal ranges, right? You want to counter that. Typically, you want to be able to moving in his weak side, of course, is step right, and of course, trying to close the gap as much as you can, but at the same time, enough to bait him to do the God Fist or F4. And as soon as he does the God Fist or F4, most especially F4, you want to do F3 and take as much as you can, give a small check, DF1 check, then move in, out, poke, and just keep going that way. You want to make sure you enter in a space where he thinks he's comfortable long range, but at the same time, you're in a range where you can start something up when you need to. So again, key moves for this matchup would be God Fist, F4, down back 4, Magic 4, 2-1, and any of the jab strings, most especially 1 down 3. That's going to be a good round ender, and it'll come out a lot. So that's a Jin matchup. So Tifa Lockhart or Josie Rizal. So Josie Rizal is very oppressive against Hwoarang because of switch. So the moment she enters switch, there's pretty much not much Hwoarang can do. He doesn't have a lot of good defensive options against it, even on block. Of course, the smaller stuff, maybe like 1-2-4, 1-2-3, you can fuzzy that. Make sure you do 2-4, 2-3. Down 3-4 is not natural, so make sure you duck after down 3-4. So typically, she's not going to be keeping out. She's going to keep walking in your face. She's just going to be a ball of energy, hitting you with this war drum mix-up, switch DF4 mix-up, hitting you with CD3, down 4 you to death, doing small high mid, high lows, and just wanting you to commit those errors. And the moment she does something as big as this, she's gonna keep piling on the pressure. Not by adding more plus frames, but by adding more damage via small plus frames. And she keeps playing around a lot of small plus frames. And if you think you can outplay her at close range, she could always just take a step back and then just do DF2. Or orbital, or hop kick. Of course, her punishment's a little bit finky and very, very specific, so the Josie players need to lab that in earnest. But in Hwoarang's case, it's you're gonna have to fight her mano a mano in a brawl. And there are some moves where she can just straight up back 3+4 that and just get sway 1. And that's gonna hurt a lot. So you gotta make sure you have to keep that in mind with some of the strings that you do. And you're just gonna be fighting her in her area most of the time. Of course, you could move out a little bit further. Like a little bit further, something far. Of course, she could instantly check you with F4, but she's -9, so you could instantly just check her with a DF1 and a hop kick orbital or back 3+4 is not gonna work. Yeah. You want to sit in a range that's a little bit farther, a little bit, not too close, but in an area where Hwoarang can start it up immediately, but enough so that you can handle the offense that she's about to rain towards you, right? So again, key moves in this matchup are always going to be down 4, DF4, war drums 1+4, DF2, orbital hop kick, and CD3. That's about it. So that's the Josie matchup. Let's move on. So Katarina, kind of like Claudio, because of the hop kick. The hop kick is a big center of the game plan, because as soon as you whiff something, they're going to be in that range to hop kick you, or they're going to set up a trap where the hop kick will win. In this case, most of the lows are unsafe, so you make sure you punish these big compared to Claudio's. Of course, it's the same thing with Claudio, you don't want to let him get away with it, but the reward you get is a little bit different compared to Katarina. So in the Harrier stance, you could back 1, if your reactions are good enough. But if she doesn't enter Harrier, you could get punished big time since she has a 12 to 13 frame launcher. And that hurts a lot. Of course, her wall damage, her combo damage is quite on par with Hwoarang, and it could hurt even way more. So you don't want to you don't want to give as much launching opportunities to Katarina. Even if she's getting all those, let's say she's getting momentum, she's getting all these things on you. You don't want to give her a counter hit, because if you give her a counter hit, she's gonna, you know, get big stuff. Let's say something, this is like something small, and then she could instantly add it to a running move and then keep you in check. And she has really, really good jab strings, most especially 1-1-2 and to DF4. So she's not going to be playing a little bit far. She's going to be playing somewhere, again, in Bryan's range, Dragunov range, because of the hop kick, simply due to the hop kick and her big lows. And mixing those two together as 50-50s with all the small stuff in between. Yeah, so key moves would be, you know, DF1, Magic 4-4, the Magic 4-4s, the hop kick most especially, learn how to punish both. But of course you'll be punishing one only, so you have to make sure you wait for the second one. Try to punish the first one, try it a little bit in practice mode, but if you can't, that's fine. Always make sure you hold back and wait for the second hit. All the lows, those are key moves. Don't let her get away with a snake edge. Don't get hit by a snake edge, right? Down 2 is a really, really good key move. It moves a little bit under. And of course, DF1, 1-1 strings, etc. And of course, she got a few panic moves here and there, but those aren't... I mean, again, keep them in mind when you're stringing and you'll be fine. Yeah, those are the key moves, and that's the Katarina matchup. Next. So Kazumi's always been a really, really... It's been a hard matchup, because she's really good at controlling where Hwoarang goes, and when Hwoarang moves, she can catch him with a DF1 or a back 2. Of course, it's gone. The load has been lightened as time passed by. It gets easier and easier to move around Kazumi, but it's still difficult, because just like in the same vein as Steve, she's going to do all these small mix-ups adding up together. And if you don't win in any of those small mix-ups, and she keeps winning in all of those small mix-ups, whether that's like a jab into a low, jab into a mid, or jab, sidestep, DF1, down back 4, run away, whiff punish, 3-2, and stuff like that, you're gonna lose. So it's basically the same as Steve, just without the stances and the big counter hits. The big counter hit here is Magic 4. Of course, key moves, 1-1, DF1, standing 3 into any of the options, down back 4, down back 2, the down back 2 low string, make sure you learn how to deal with that, down back 3, and FF4 and F3 into any of the mix-ups. Most of those mix-ups can be beaten by a down jab except one of the options from Fearless Warrior. So that's the Kazumi matchup. Next, so Kazuya, just like Heihachi, Bob, Devil Jin, same idea. They'll be moving around in spacing, moving around looking for their opportunity. And while Heihachi can take his opportunity immediately with down back 2, FF2, so can Kazuya, most especially with the new move they got while standing 1+2, which allows them to give a safe mid check, which big huge reward. And if he gets it, that's an instant +14, and that could be a God Fist or a Hell Sweep without a doubt, or a down back 4 or a safe or low. So Kazuya can play a little bit in between, but he can also go a little bit more offensively if he just really wanted to. And he's got a really good vortex in it, and most especially 13th frame Godfist and 13th frame while standing 1-2. So a lot of the lows that Hwoarang has will get launch punished, except down back 4 forward, down back 4 forward into right flamingo stance, and left flamingo down back 4. So again, it's just playing with the checks as well. And if he goes in your face, you have to fight mano a mano a little bit, challenge at certain points. And when it comes to panic, he doesn't have a lot of panic aside from 1+2, the basic down jab, DF2. That's like about it. So you could keep him in check a lot easier compared to Devil Jin or Heihachi. So again, key moves, DF2, down back 4, while standing 1+2, God Fist. Then of course FF4, FF3, F4, etc. So that's the Kazuya matchup. So I was covering this earlier. The King matchup is more or less about King trying to walk in to get the grabs and abuse you as much as he can in any shape, way, or form or fashion. Whether that be making you duck via the grabs and get the mid launcher, or making you stand with the mid launchers and mid checks and getting the free grab. So you want to make sure he's going to be playing in an area, a certain range, again similar to Bryan, because his not Dragunov, because his long range with punishes aren't that good aside from forward 2-1 and the hot knee. Of course, he's going to be doing more FC DF2. That's the one with the more reach. Of course, he can insta check you with FF1 as well, but it's the same thing as Josie. As soon as he does it, make sure you take your turn, give him a good check, and try to start something from there. The difference here is that his reversal is unchickenable, so anything that you do in Flamingo, if you're trying to start something up, make sure you keep this in mind, and you could be in trouble if he gets a good number of reversals on Hwoarang. Because that could spell the doom for you. Because you'll be a little bit too scared and too hesitant to start something up because he keeps getting those things. So yeah, make sure you can... If he starts throwing you could throw him back if you want to. Test each other's throw breaks if you'd like. And of course, he's going to be doing a lot of these small mid checks. DF1, DF4, down 4. He's going to run away. And he's going to be walking a little bit closer in range. He's going to be crouching a lot also because he needs to set up into FC DF2, which has the longest range. So again, key moves, as mentioned earlier, FC DF2, Magic 4, DF1, DF2-1, forward 2-1, grabs, giant swing, shining wizard, FF1. Yeah. So that's the king matchup. Next. So the bear matchups, both Kuma and Panda, the main thing you just want to know is don't whiff. Because if you whiff against Kuma or Panda, the bear slap will eat you alive. Now naturally, since they're big characters, just like Gigas earlier, Jack, and now bears, as soon as you get something, make sure you keep them as much as you can. Well, the difference is Kuma's legs and Panda's legs are a little bit far back, so the hell sweep down 3-4 RFS D4-3 will be evaded a lot. So don't commit to it way too much. Make sure you're really close to Kuma before you attempt it, like if you're able to push him to the wall. So mostly in neutral, he's going to be trying to gain space and checking with a jab. He's going to be doing his 2, not his 1. But you have to watch out for forward 1-1 as well. Make sure you're ready and attuned to all the timings of forward 1-1-1. Whether he goes for the full thing or goes for the full string, make sure you have a punish for all of them, which is very important. This is one of the things you'll be fishing with 24/7. Down back 2 is going to be a clean low that's going to be just chip. Not exactly huge plus frames, but of course they could always check it while standing 4, but you could always beat that with forward 3. FF2 is just a major check as well. So again, it's just more of just don't whiff against Kuma. And of course, if he's in hunting stance, after he does one move in hunting stance that isn't so plus, make sure you check him with a DF1. Get him out of hunting stance immediately. Don't let him have it. So key moves here, again, down back 2, running, 1+2, which enters hunting, FF2, and the bear slap. And a hell sweep if ever you get hit by it. But that's just me. Okay, so that's the Kuma matchup. Next, on to the next. So since this isn't Tekken 6 Tag 2 anymore, you don't have to worry about a lot of your strings or a lot of your neutral losing to DF2, standing DF2. Here, this is DF2 is now mid, so you gotta remember it's -14. You have to punish that cleanly. So what Lars wants to do is show you a lot of risk reward type things. So he's gonna do a lot of weird stuff like FF4-3, FF4, maybe down back 4 a lot because that avoids a lot as well. And he's gonna do maybe a full DF2-1, DF1 down jab. And of course he's got a lot more solid 2s as well, down 2, 0 on block. So a forward 3 orbital. So against Lars, he's gonna be sitting. He's got blue bolt as well. Forward 1+2 arc blast. His punishment's really good. Granted, the player who's playing him has really good punish as well. So against Lars, you want to be looking for those big things. And of course, you don't want them to keep walking in your space for free. So you have to keep giving him a DF1 check in between. Maybe walk in down 3-4 RFS1, get out. See if they're gonna throw out the big stuff. Maybe a panic. And just keep playing it off from there. And of course, with all matchups, the moment you know you can start stringing non-stop against your opponent, go for it, rush them down, give them no way of getting out, and just completely deplete their health as fast as you can. But Lars can also play quite safe. He's got an FF4 and +2 elbow. He could bait you into a lot of stuff similar to Steve, but just in a different way. So of course, the key moves here are gonna be the orbital, and most of his punishers. Of course, that mostly the main one is blue bolt. So if you do something like NFS up forward 4, you lose. Down 2, down back 1, really good low. DF2 still really has really good crushing. FC DF2, just in case you get hit by that, because it'll come after the down back 4. FF4-3, FF3+4, etc. So that's the Lars matchup. Okay, so martial law. Down 2-3, magic 4, parry, and DSS pressure. These are the 4 main things you need to worry about. And slide. Those are the 5 things you need to worry about. He'll just be baiting you if he's from far range. with the full crouch mix-ups. But typically, he's gonna be playing more of an in-your-face game. He'll be playing a more in-your-face game, similar to Josie, just with more slight safety and not entering switch to a stance where she can't block or whatnot. Because he could just keep doing stuff like DF1, jab, back 2, down back 3, down 4-3, down 4, and then eventually bait you into a magic 4 or a down 2-3. So again, it's mano a mano again, just like Josie, and you just want to make sure you watch your punches carefully. Most especially when you're stringing, make sure you take into account the parry and the down 2-3, and the hop kick, and you'll be fine. So again, key moves here. DF2, 3+4-4, slide, down back 3, down 4-3, and magic 4. And all the most of the moves that are turned into DSS, which give major plus frames. Yeah, so that's the Law matchup. So Lee Chao lands the next matchup here that we want to cover. So he's very similar to Law in the fact that he has a slide, right? He has a slide, but he's got other stuff as well, and he's far more slippery than Law. Why do I say slippery? Because his DF1 goes way under a lot of stuff. You look how Lee moves. This is far more worrisome compared to Law DF1 or Law back 2. This small thing alone is gonna beat you in neutral a good number of times, and he's gonna do stuff like back 3-3 and 2. He's gonna move into mist. And of course he's got DF2 as well. He's got a safe DF2. He's got the slides. He's got punishment as well. Most of it 1-3-3, 4-3-3, 4-3, and of course all the stuff in Hitman. He's just gonna keep moving around those stuff. He's gonna be very slippery is what I'm saying. You're gonna have very small opportunities where you know that your hit is very certain. So you wanna make sure you lab those situations. Even with F4-3, this move is gonna really annoy you because Lee can live off this high mid and either enter Hitman or not enter Hitman. So you have to make sure you've labbed all the options. If he does this on block and he enters Hitman, make sure you've labbed all of it with your character. That way you know what wins and what doesn't win. And of course vice versa with Lee, what you could do and what you can't do, right? So he's gonna be living off a lot of slippery motions and going under a lot of stuff and doing stuff that rob you like FF4 into dash back 3-3. And if that Lee has all the really good conversions, you're in deep trouble as a Hwoarang player. So yeah, you have to be very wary of the Kamon, and he's got the parry as well. He's got a good number of panic options, but for the most part you can keep him mostly in check because those panic options aren't that much of a big of a deal. So again, to go over the key moves, it's all the slippery stuff, the DF1, the down 2, the jabs into 1-2-4. Make sure you never get hit by the counter hit of 1-2-4. Even if he charges it up, it's okay, just block it. Just never give 1-2-4 on block, just never. And if it's uncharged, it's unsafe. Okay? Down 3 as well. Again, slippery movement and slide. Those are like the main moves you have to worry about. And just lab all the options on Hitman, you'll be fine. So that's like the Lee matchup, right? Leo, in a similar vein like Kazumi, has a good ways of controlling Hwoarang in multiple ways, whether that be a DF1, DF4, and her own low, high, mid, which is back 1+4. Very good for approaching and keeping opponents in check at +3, and then straight up do another DF1. Or a forward 1-2. Again, a forward 1-2 will always lose to forward 3 LFS back 1. What's forward 3 LFS back 1? Forward 3 LFS back 1, okay? So if she does a forward 2-1 or a forward 2-1, a forward 2-1 into bulk, a forward 2 into bulk, which is down 3+4, you'll beat most options in bulk. But of course, if she's waiting after a forward 2 and she blocks, you're gonna get hit by the 14 frame punish, which is naturally forward 2-2, and that hurts a lot. And if it's not that, it's gonna be 2-2, which still hurts a lot. So yeah. And of course, naturally, she still has a really good 50-50 in the hell sweep, and just generally good ways to check an opponent. Of course, most of her tools can be stepped towards the right, but at the same time, she can easily remedy that, you know, just doing generic lows. And having a generic lows is just such a big deal, and it's gonna annoy you in a lot of matchups with characters who have generic lows, because they can just continue chipping at way and moving and eventually getting their big thing. Like, that's what they're looking for, while continuously pushing you towards the wall. That's the one thing you want to be wary about Leo. Don't give her that wall position early in the game. I'm very specific about it early in the game because she can blow you up really hard if you give it early in the game. I'm not saying that other characters can't do that, but it's just more profound with Leo. You could lose a lot if you give that wall early. It's not like she can't beat you late, but it just happens a lot more often with Leo. And as soon as they get the wall, they try to keep you there and glue you there as much as they can. Whether that be an up 3, an up 4 3+4 to keep you in check, +1, down jab check, Down 2 plus DF1, DF4, back 1 plus 4 again. So yeah, focus more on sitting around in neutral, and if she's willing to play small, you play small with her and focus on the small areas where you can get in, and you'll be pretty much fine. If she goes Unga 50-50, again, guess that's it, the same with most, and get rid of it. And if you can defend well against the 50-50s, if they decide to go Unga, you'll be fine. So key moves to worry about here, back 1-4. This can be beaten by orbital or back 1 if you react to the back 1-4. F4 plus 8 into any of the cane case, don't press. Down 4, really good low, back 1 plus 4. DF1, DF4, typical. DF2, punishable, make sure you try to punish this as much as you can. There's a certain range where you can't punish it, so don't push it that much, but punish it when you can. Bok 2, safe mid launcher. QCF1, big counter hit low. Yeah, big counter hit low, right? Which goes into 1 plus 2 and allows her to go straight into Oki. Again, her combo damage is also extremely good, and her Okizem is really good as well. That's why you don't want to give her the wall early. That's why you don't want to give the wall early. Because if she gets the wall, she gets the big combo damage, guaranteed hit on FF3, Bok 2, and then she gets the big Oki, whether it could be a Hell Sweep, or Wall Splat, or just keeping you at the wall forever until she does one of the other two again. So that's the Leo matchup. Lili. If Eddy was slippery in terms of hitting, she's gonna be slippery in terms of moving. And of course, she could be slippery with movement, with attacking as well. She's got some moves that will crush and evade you. Some, and most especially like Matterhorn, down 3 plus 4, down back 4, Edelweiss. And then DF3 is gonna keep you in check a lot. You know, DF3 is gonna keep you in check because it's major plus, and it's like her best move. And of course, she's gonna be doing a lot of FF4 to keep you around in DF1. She's gonna be really slippery in that case with the 1-2s, DF1, DF4, you know, stuff like that. And move in, move out, down 3. And she also has a generic low, so it's also it's gonna come there to haunt you. And yeah, she's gonna be playing a little bit closer, not like Bryan or Asuka or Dragunov. She's gonna be playing quite close to you, in similar vein like Lee and Josie. You're gonna be playing in that area a lot, and keeping the mix-ups on you as much as possible, and checking you at every given choice. And so again, it's another mano a mano, but at the same time, it's not mano a mano in the sense that you have to guess and challenge at the correct time, like with Law as well. You have to worry about when she's going to slip past you, and how do you keep her in check when she's slipping. So when she slips past you, you get that DF1 plus 2 check, and then maybe you could go for the down 3-4 or 1-2-4 into RFS F4, stuff like that. You want to make sure you're always in the right area where you got her, and then you could check her for that one moment, and then you go back to checking her again. And then the moment she allows you to go get offense and like your own momentum, make sure you always keep in mind that she could always beat your offense with a Matterhorn sometimes, or an Edelweiss, or any other panic option that's available, because she also has a backswing blow. Her Power Crush, her FF2 is -19, punish that, etc. So again, key moves would be FF4, DF3, jabs, DF3 plus 4 if you whiff big, all the back turn options on mix-ups mostly, a hop kick, and of course she has a parry. And yeah, that's basically the Lili matchup. So lucky Chloe in season 4 got a lot of big stuff. DF1-3, changed frames on a lot of these stuff, knockdowns on certain moves immediately now instead of it being plus frames. Of course, again, she achieved this in season 3, I believe, which allows her to low crush immediately. So if you do something terrible, let's say you did a down back 3 and she got the read on it, this is a free scissor kick. Now, of course, her scissor kicks is not that bad, her Cali roll isn't that bad because we have a good anti-option for it, a good OS for it, so it's not really that much of a problem. The OS is forward 3 into DF3-4 or forward 3 into LFS up forward 4, one of the two. You could use one of the two, it doesn't matter. They're always going to hit both options. And the main thing about Chloe is gonna be it's kind of like slippery. It's a mix of Katarina, Claudio, Lee, and Lili. She's gonna slip and slide, but at the same time hit you with crushing moves like hop kicks, backswing blows, and power crushes, and just keep you at your toes. So it's a different feeling from her being really, really close to you. It's the feeling that one error could screw everything up because that's how she usually plays. Now, of course, she can still get big stuff on her own, like with poking. You cannot outpoke this character. Most especially because of her standing 4, you really can't outpoke this character. She's very good at poking, and it's hard to challenge her. So you'll be playing the poking game a little bit with her, but at the same time, the moment you get your chance, let's say you hit a running 3 on block, you take your chance, you do a down 3-4, make sure you don't do the option that will lose to a hop kick or something like that, right? Or a DF2 or a backswing blow. Or a power crush. Yeah. It's actually kind of pretty straightforward. And she gets her running Hell Sweep, which was new in Season 4. Oh, whoops. Her running Hell Sweep on Season 4. It's minus on hit. It's really not much of a big of a deal. If she's pressing buttons after it, make sure you just press a button to check her when you wake up DF1. But she could bait that. You wake up DF1, then hop kick, right? Again, her combo damage is very similar to Hwoarang. And other characters have similar Hwoarang. Okay, it's got Katarina, Lucky Chloe, Master Raven, etc. They're gonna hurt you big, so make sure they don't get as much chances as they would get in a set. In a set, you could probably give them maybe 1 or 2, but that's about it. Because that'll cost you at minimum 2 rounds, but don't give them the final round through that way. You don't want to give it to them that way. If you need to engage in the poke battle that you could lose, do it, but make sure you find an opening in between. And she's gonna be a little bit closer as well, because her long range with punishment isn't that good. Aside from like an FF3. Yeah, she doesn't have much. So she's a little bit worse than Bryan in that sense. But she'll be playing in that range as well and being a little bit closer with the F4 crouch mix-up. Of course, in back turn, since the Cali roll isn't the only thing that you have to worry about, she's gonna do something like the back turn down 3+4 or a back turn hop kick. Or her new elbow, which is a counter hit launcher. So it's the main mix-up isn't the roll, but rather those options. Of course, she'll mix the roll in between, but you just have to make sure the moment she's standing still, it's not the roll. So she could do this, and you have to wait for her to stand up. So if she just keeps rolling, I don't know, you could block it or prevent her from doing it. But the moment she stands up, that's when the real mix-up begins. So again, key moves to watch out in this matchup: the hop kicks, both hop kicks, backswing blow, her power crush, DF1, DF1-3. Her standing 4, down 4, and that back 3. Yeah, so that's the Lucky Chloe matchup. So again, I went off saying that there are other characters that have similar Hwoarang combo damage, and this is most definitely the biggest offender, Master Raven. As soon as you get launched, relaunched, resplat, whatever, she's gonna do a lot more damage than you could imagine, and it just really, really hurts. Now, in terms of spacing, she's gonna be playing around somewhere like Bryan's range as well, somewhere around there. And she's gonna be using movement a lot to her advantage in that area. So if Mishima's, Bob, etc., characters with crouch dashes typically would be moving around the stage a lot to try to gain more position. And of course, since typically they have a long range with Punisher with them, she does as well, but it's a little bit more short, which is a QCF2. Oh, not QCF2. Oh, there. While standing 2. You could do from her movement, this exact movement, and cancel it into while standing 2. This is typically what she's going to be doing. It's a counter hit launch. A lot of her counter hits are highs. Where is it? I'm sorry, I don't know the input, but most of her counter hits are highs, and they crush highs, so that's what you want to avoid. Her back turn options are typically, well, they're decent, but at the same time, you want to avoid the parry, the power crush. You want to make sure you block that and the parry. You want to get rid of those two things, and you don't want to deal with them. Deal with the rest. That's a lot more important. Of course, when it comes to partying, she can party way harder than Hwoarang. So don't let her get on that roll way too much. And if she does get on that roll, find one way to stop her in order to the fact that you could start, you know, buying your life lead back. So key moves to watch out in this matchup would be while standing 2. DF1, very good, similar to Lee. 4-1. Back 2. Instant panic move. Down 3. Down back 4. QCF 4. The punish for this is 4-4-3, by the way, into RFF FF3. And that's about it. That's the Master Raven matchup. So the Miguel matchup is slightly in Miguel's favor. Really, really good movement, really good backdash, really good sidestep. And he has an 11 frame back one. 11 frame back one, yeah, 11 frame back one. 11 frame? Yeah, 11 frame back one. 12 frame magic 4. So it's very difficult to kind of slip and slide towards Miguel, but at the same time, Miguel's big, so if you get a launch on Miguel, it's going to be big damage because he's classified as a big male, large male. But of course, when it comes to neutral, Miguel's not going to be... He's going to do something like sab down back 3 and then sab back 1. That's pretty much it. It's pretty much always what Miguel's going to be doing. And gets limited to that. He doesn't have a lot of big stuff. All his big stuff are all terrible. They're launch punchable, down back 1, sab down back 4. FC, DF4, and you don't really, there's really not much of an FC mix-up as well, so you don't have to worry about it. Just don't give it to him for free. You know, he's going to be checking you a lot more often and looking for areas where he can get small plus frames to continue building upon. And if he gets hit confirms like this, he's going to hurt you with it. And of course, if he gets big counter hits, he's going to, you know, it's an FF2-1. I can't exactly do it, but he's going to get that. And of course, he'll be checking you from range with Sav 2 a lot as well. Maybe Sav canceling, which most Miguels don't do, but you could. And Sav 2. And Sav down back 3, Sav back 1 typically. And of course the counter hit options in standing back 1 and magic 4. His punishment's a little bit finky as well, it's very specific just like Josie's, but at the same time he can still hurt you really, really bad. Most especially if you got a new move in forward 2-1. Yeah, and that is gonna enter Sav. Typically, the enter Sav. So since he's looking for those small pieces around, just like you as Hwoarang, you're looking for those small opportunities to start a small mix-up or a large mix-up, you just want to keep fighting each other for that particular opportunity. And that's how the matchup will be played, and you'll be totally fine. So key moves in this matchup would be sab back 1, sab back 1 4, sab down back 3, the DF1 strings, DF1 1, down back 3, down back 3 4, sab 2, up forward 1 for plus, and up forward 3. And magic 4 and back 1, that's about it. So that's the Miguel matchup. So Nina is in a weird place in the matchup. So it depends on how well your opponent knows how to use Nina and knows the anti-stuff for Hwoarang with Nina. Because it's very, very specific as well. It's not exactly as universal. Most especially since her up forward, her back 1 is now in up forward 1. So she can, oh wait, up back 1. Yeah, since it's in up back 1 now, it's not in back 1. Which makes a lot of the new pressure tools that she can do, pressure tools that you can do, most especially different in crouch. So it's very Nina specific, and you're gonna have to know these specific strings, most especially as Hwoarang. You're gonna have to lab some of them and see. And then at that point, you'd want to fight a Nina specialist because it's very difficult to understand it on your own. But a lot of the small pressure, she's gonna go for a lot of small pressure and look for opportunities. She can play a lot more in the Dragunov range, most especially because of QCF1. And of course, her combos hurt a lot. Oh, QC4. There it is, QC4. And Magic 4. And her combos hurt a lot, most especially when she gets to carry, and her carry is really, really good, fantastic. So as Hwoarang, you want to either notice if they're playing rush down, or they're playing a little bit safe, more neutral, and you apply it that way. So if they're playing a little bit more rush down, you want to get gung-ho. You want to focus on one way to get in, get out. And then if they're playing more neutral, you want to be a little bit more careful, because one counter is probably all they need, or one big launch, even including with a safe DF2. Focus your pressure in areas where small stuff like down 1-4, it's not going to beat you, up back 1 is not going to beat you, or maybe a power crush isn't going to beat you, or maybe up forward 4 as a panic is not going to beat you, up forward 3. And that's not much, because she has like a lot of the generic tools, but at the same time she got special tools to evade Hwoarang pressure. So of course the key moves in this matchup would typically be QCF1, sidestep 1, down 4-1, the sweep, F3-3, magic 4, DF2. I'm probably forgetting something, but that's like the general idea of it. So that's like the Nina matchup. Paul's in a similar vein, just like Nina, if they go all in, 50-50. Well, Nina's is like 50-50 in rushing you down non-stop. Well, Paul's will be 50-50s in the Demo Man or the Death Fist. So, if of course Paul's focusing that way, it's just the same thing. Look for your gap, whatnot. But of course, if they're playing more neutral, this is where you have to get a little bit more wary. DF1, you know, stuff like ball standing 4, back 4, SS3, back 1 check, DF1 check, QCF3 1, QCF3 to QCB3 to QCB4 DF2. Again, you have to worry about DF2 a lot. So even if Hwoarang's DF2 recovery is a little bit better, Paul's crushing ability is far better, or at least it evades a lot more the nature of how he moves. So you have to build a lot of your Hwoarang pressure or Hwoarang neutral in dealing with DF2 the most. Of course, most of his getting out panic tools are generic: down jab, hop kick, shredder kicks. But of course, he still has forward 1+4, which is still gonna hurt a lot. But I mean, the difference this time is that you're gonna get hurt by a lot of it, because it's just gonna push you really, really far. Most especially if you back roll, and which you should, because if you don't back roll, this is a guaranteed damage, which isn't good. You don't want that. Of course, 13 frame punish is really good as well. So while standing 3-2, and that's not good because it enters into a realm of a quote-unquote 50-50. It could be a 50-50 right after it, but most of the time it's gonna be keeping you here and gathering information. At the moment they know they go for the 50-50, that's when they go for it. They're just gonna check you with something similar in speed, and they'll be like, ah, okay, that's how I hit him. Or with check with a standing 3, and they're gone. And of course, Hammer of the Gods is integral for this matchup as well. This is the main move that they're gonna use to check you with plus frames, and then check you with maybe a DF1 or run away then DF2 or sidestep DF2, stuff like that. Key moves in this matchup would typically be DF2, QCB4, Demo Man, and Death Fist, forward 1+4. Forward 2+3 if ever they use it as a panic option. DF1, back 3, QCF3, back 1, SS3, and back 4. So that's basically the Paul matchup. Next. So Shaheen's is the same vein as Kazumi. So Kazumi Lee Lo. It's a very similar mix. So he's not exactly that slippery, but at the same time he's very gluey because of the DF1. DF1, down 3, forward 3 checks, 2-3 is a really good punish into another check into while standing 1, while standing 4, and then he can move away, hop, kick, and slide. So he's also got a little bit of Claudio DNA in him. 4-1, even if it's been quite nerfed. And for the most part, there's not a lot of big stuff here aside from a slide. So you don't really have to worry about much against Shaheen. All you have to worry about is the fact that they're controlling the pace over you a lot, and keeping you in check, and then eventually getting that one big launch. So again, the same vein as Kazumi, you have to wait your turn, see the opportunity, again small mix-ups after small mix-ups, and eventually try to get a life lead, and beat them as much small mix-ups as you can. So the key moves in this matchup would typically be hop kick, 1-2, the jab strings, slide while standing 1, 4-1. And a good number of sneak options from anything on hit or raw. Yeah, it's like the Shaheen matchup. Next, so we covered Steve again in the last open Hwoarang lessons, but again, in a little bit more detail. So just like Kazumi, Lee, Josie, Law, Shaheen, a little bit mixture of all of them, including Claudio. Steve's gonna be sitting in a range, including Jin, that's very, very comfortable to him, and he's gonna get the Sonic Fang punishes a lot if you whiff. If you try to bait him into small whiffs, just like him trying to bait you into small whiffs with back 1, even if back 1 got nerfed, that you could actually launch punish this now, it's a little bit more difficult, most especially if he's running away with you and just doing still back 1s here. But that's not exactly optimal for him anymore, but he could still do it if he wanted to. And if you whiff and you try to baiter, if you try baiting him out, he's gonna outbait you. So this matchup's more basically about baiting the outbaiter. So you want to bait him into baiting you into you baiting him. You want to win the baiting game basically as much as you can. And he's gonna be playing a lot around small mix-ups like DF1-2, DF1-2 duck, down 2-1, and of course down 2-1-2 is another small mix-up, or wild man cancel it to just down 1. While standing 1, while standing 1-1, while standing 1-2, and he could be doing this all this stuff pretty far because you can't exactly punish this because he might do the second hit and that could hit like a whiff punish back 3, which is not exactly good for you. Of course, you can keep a lot of people in check, most especially with DF2 duck, and you can't really press after DF2 duck because if he does DF2 duck, DF2, and you press the jab, you're gonna lose. And of course, the moment that you're at the wall, QCF1 is gonna be the biggest offender there, so make sure you don't lose that position. Maybe somewhere in the middle of the round, because he could go big with maybe a down back 3-2. A lot of the lows are pretty small, so they'll just continue piling up, and he's going to be checking you a lot non-stop. Again, small mix-ups after small mix-ups, and that's typically what he's going to do. So again, you want to be moving around in his range, but at the same time, trying to bait the outbaiter with maybe tiny whiffs. Not as often, because Sonic Fang will always catch you. But yeah. and maybe lift your leg a little bit because he can't exactly Sonic Fang that. Because if he does Sonic Fang this, you could easily react with an LFS back 3, an RFS back 4, or LFS DF3 forward, or an LFS DF3 forward. Like, he can't really challenge Flamingo at a quote at, you know, kind of. You want to see if they're really brave, but at the same time, let's see if your reactions are on point. Of course, you could also do a lot of DF2s as well, a little bit farther from where the Sonic Fang range is, or do a little bait into DF2, but of course he's looking for that as well, so you're both playing the similar game. But the moment you get your chance in, make sure you take it, right? You take it. You go for a big mix-up or a small check into another small mix-up into another small check, and then maybe move out, go for a bait, then try to get back in again. That's what you typically want to be doing against Steve. So key moves for Steve would always be counter hit back 1, DF1, down 1, while standing 2, any of the duck stuff, any of the pab stuff, flicker back 2, the flicker 1 series. Yeah, so that's the Steve matchup. Next, so Ling Xiaoyu is, yeah, a really bad matchup. Of course, just like Asuka, the moment you get comfortable with it and you know how to deal with the AOP and you're using a lot of the moves that deal with AOP most of the time, you'll be in a better place. But most of the time, you'll still be waiting for Ling to do her stuff. Whether she's doing it up close or trying to bait you, or she's trying to fight you mano a mano, or baiting you in neutral, or baiting you a little bit farther away, she can do all of it. And of course, with her new low down back 2, you cannot challenge it on hit or block. Now you want to make sure your punishes are clean, most especially on Firecracker. That's crouch cancel while standing, crouch cancel down 3-4, or crouch cancel down back 4, or while standing 4, down 3-4, whatever, right? Whatever works and what's the most consistent for you as a punish, do that. So yeah, you'll be waiting for a lot. And if you keep going in, make sure you're always worried about back 1, which will prevent pressure immediately, or AOP, or Magic 4. Or maybe a hop kick or an orbital. That's about it. Key moves, just for the sake of it. DF1, whether it's held or not in the back turn. Down back 2, basic down 4s. Down 3, FF3, AOP, Magic 4, standing 3, and that's pretty much about it. So that's like the Ling matchup. Yoshimitsu is about frames, because you could be doing a certain thing, you could be doing one of these things, these pressure tools, regardless of the flow that you think, and he could flash in between one of them. And that's pretty sad. So you want to develop your flow. You have to develop a specific flow against Yoshimitsu, specifically for his panic options, whether they be flash, a basic down jab, hot knee, whatever. So if that option beats flashes and all the other options, that's great. That's what you want to do. So Yoshimitsu won't be sitting that far. Again, maybe somewhere in Bryan Dragunov range. Yeah, most especially with the new low he got from his new stand, from one of his stances where he does a really long sword low. That's one of the lows you have to worry about and punish that consistently as well. The sword sweep, that's a little bit difficult to react, but for Hwoarang you could either do an orbital, or up 3 into LFS up forward 4, or up 4 into RFS back 3. That's like one of the options you could do. 3 of the options you can do against sword sweep. On reaction, right? Yeah, so again, let's go straight into key moves. I mean, I probably don't know, I just don't know the inputs of the moves, but DF1, DF4, full crouch DF4, flash, hot knee, and then mostly a good number of his moves in stances. Not that stance, but I mean, this one where he has a sword in his, when he sheaths the sword, and then maybe when he's in the pogo stick as well, and when he's flying. And when he's flying, it's typically just a jab will get him out of there. When he's on the pogo stick, it's a little bit more difficult because sometimes a jab will lose what it comes to the hitbox of the pogo stick. So FF4 could cover that as well. Most especially if you're waiting for him at range and you see him do that, FF4. Yeah, that just basically is the Yoshi matchup. Akuma. He just doesn't like Hwoarang pressure. That's what that 2 bars are. And of course, we're talking about characters who can do way more combo damage than Hwoarang. Akuma is definitely one of them. Biggest combo damage, biggest offender of it. And a lot of the games are going to be dictated by down 3 and down 2, and DF1 and FF4. So to show you how those look like, down 3 into special, and down 3 is special cancel into any move, down 2 special cancel into any move, DF1 for checking, FF4 for checking as well. It used to counter hit. It used to counter hit launch, but good thing they removed it. It's now only +2. But at the same time, since it's +2, it's just a free DF1 check or a free down 3 or a down 2. Like it's at the perfect range for a down 3 into special cancel Tatsu or Hadouken. And the moment he starts doing Hadoukens, he's zoning you out. Make sure you step away, it's a linear move. It doesn't matter which way you step. And get closer to him slowly but surely. Like the moment he starts zoning you out. And of course he's gonna be baiting you a lot with this small moves. And he could go big if you're worried about it with down 4s. And then check with an FF4, so it's a little bit more difficult. And most especially when he has EX, you're gonna have to worry about EXDP the moment you're pressuring. When he doesn't have EXDP, bars in general, pressuring him is a little bit similar to a lot of other Tekken characters because he's just gonna be focusing on the down jab or maybe jumping out. Or I can't exactly do the input for his special cancel, but the one where he teleports to the other side, that one you just have to be a little bit patient and then back 3 or launch him or hit him in any way, form, or fashion. You'll still get the punish. So again, key moves to watch out for: Hadouken, down 3 into special cancel, down 2 into special cancel, FF4, DF1, DF1-1, DF1-2, you know, all the strings. Jab into special cancel, maybe if he has meter as well. EXDP, down 4, and that's pretty much about it. So that's the Akuma matchup. So Eliza's in a different place compared to Akuma. Yes, the EXDP is still a pain in the ass, but you could move a little bit more freely from Eliza compared to Akuma. That's like the only difference. The rest is pretty much the same. So the key moves here are a little bit different. So she's gonna be entering this one, the Moon Glide, into F4, F3-4, Moon Glide 4, Moon Glide 3-3, down 3 into any special cancel, down jab into any special cancel. The dive kicks there again, those are different plus frames at different heights. And down 4, magic 4, yeah, those are like about it. Those are the only key moves for Eliza. Same bread with matchups in the same similar vein as Akuma, just a little bit different because she's going to be using a lot of this more often, and she's going to be playing a little bit farther in range because she needs to do these moves. And she'll be using this beautiful mid check a lot, back 1 2, and just back 1 DF1, then down 3, down 4, whatever, right? So that's the Eliza matchup. Next, okay, Geese is a Tekken character, sort of, but at the same time he's 2D, he's got that bar. So when you're pressuring him, it's a little bit different. He's got 3 parries. Parries for highs, parries for mids, parries for lows. But if he's in max mode when he spends his meter, he can literally parry anything regardless of what parry he does. And that hurts. So when you're pressuring, you have to be worried about that. And if your opponent has a good read on you with the parries, you better start changing your timings or changing your options. Now of course, when he does QCB 2 into QCB 3-2, or the low, QCB 2-4, you can beat both of those by doing just forward 3, LFS of forward 4, and you'll lose. Geese will never win. The only time Geese will win if he does QCB 2-1, which is a major risk for him because it's -50. Even in EX mode, both options will still lose except QCB 2-1. So he's pretty much just Tekken, but at the same time he's just moving around, and he can do that because he has really good long range tools as well, and F4 as well, which is really good mid launcher from far range for him, mid counter hit launcher. And combo damage is also far better than Hwoarang, slightly, most especially if he has meter. And forward 1+2. It's a good thing they also removed the down jab combos. They didn't remove that from Akuma, but they removed it for Geese. So that's a big win in terms of the matchup. So at least you're not dying for every time you he down jabs. He moves. DF1, forward 1+2, forward 1+2, QCB 2, down 3 special cancel into anything, down 4, F4, back 3, back 3-2, the parries, most especially the max cancel. Again, Rabuken, same zoning principle as Eliza and Akuma. Yeah, so that's the Geese matchup. Next, Noctis. Noctis is a little bit different when it comes to pressuring him because his best panic move is either DF2 or his parry. Now his parry is really good. It starts off at frame 1, so he could do this at -9, so he could set up easily. Let's say he does FF1+2 is -9, then parry. It's a common setup for Noctis to do. And DF2 goes under a lot of stuff sometimes, so you gotta worry about that. But most of the time, it's either just gonna be a parry or DF2. You don't really have to worry about much. So pressuring him is a little bit easier because he doesn't have a standing down jab because all his inputs are eaten up by another move if he wants to do a down jab. The only time you have to worry about when he's in full crouch is the fact that you can't low parry any of his lows because it's swords or spears. The only lows you can low parry are down back 3, down back 4, and down 4, 1 plus 2. Down 4, 1, 1 plus 2, which is his emo man, as they love to call it. His 13 frame punish also got buffed, DF1 2. That's it. It's, again, 13 frame punish. If you get hit by minus 13, he's gonna hit you with that. That's fine. And it sets you perfectly for either a down back 2 or an aura. So you have to worry about that the moment that kind of stuff happens. And that's like typically most of Noctis' Oki. It'll either be down back 1 into Oki, roll, whatever. Nothing something Hwoarang can't handle, but again, the interactions on the roll are quite unique. Sometimes they're a little bit inconsistent if you back 1 or forward 3. Well, most of the time you're fine when you do that. So Noctis you could pressure, but at the same time he could keep neutral, most especially by keeping you in check with DF4, DF4 2 since I got buffed in season 4. And yeah. And 2-2. He can deny Hwoarang early. He can deny Hwoarang early, but he has trouble stopping Hwoarang when Hwoarang gets in. So yeah. Hwoarang just needs to get that one moment of being in. Play a little bit neutral, find again your one opportunity, just like most other matchups, and you'll be fine. Key moves, DF2, down back 1 plus 2, down back 2, DF1, DF1 2, DF1 4, up forward 4, down 2, FC DF1, FC DF2. And that's about it. That's the Noctis matchup. Next. So with Anna, it's a little bit different from Nina. If Nina's either gung-ho on you or a little bit more neutral, Anna is going to be sitting in a range just like Dragunov or Bryan, but with the main goal of killing you 24/7. Because she can from those ranges. She can either do, I don't know the input for her stair kicks, but she can do that from this range. She has really good strong range on her sweep. I'm not probably doing the other input, I'm doing the regular input, but she has another input that makes the sweep really long from that range. And any load that she blocks is an instant mix-up. That's like the main difference. If other characters are gonna punish you properly, Nina is gonna block it, and Anna's gonna block it, and she's either gonna go for the mix-up, either that, or while standing 2, or the power crush. Well, power crush. Yeah, power crush. FC forward 2. She's gonna go for those things typically. Of course, she also has the down 4-1, down 4-2, DF1, QCF1. She typical stuff as well. So it's a little bit similar to Nina, but at the same time, she's a different mage, objective, which differs them quite different. Again, step left as much as you can. Magic 4. Her Magic 4 combo is quite consistent now, etc. So typically against Anna, you don't want to give her free reign to do what she wants. And what I mean by giving her free reign to do what she wants, allowing her to sit at the range she feels comfortable and just let it rip. Don't let her do that. Of course, lows getting blocked, there's really nothing you can do. Just guess. And yeah, don't let her overwhelm you way too much. Oh, again, if she's going gung-ho or sitting in the ranges where she knows she can kill you, gung-ho, take a guess, find one place, be opportunistic, and take it. Again, she has a parry and not much panic options as well compared to Nina. Nina doesn't have special stuff. Anna doesn't really have special stuff. She has all the generic stuff, so pressuring her is just the same as most other Tekken characters in the game. So key moves again would typically be QCF1, the low sweep, any other FC option involved, down 4-1, DF4, really good low to keep you in check. DF3, very delayed DF3 options. Even if they're both highs, their timings are a little bit different. And she could just do DF3 and then, whiff punish you really hard. So that's the Anna matchup. Next. Okay, I'm not exactly that educated in the lay matchup, but from my experiences, what I know is that you should be playing it a little bit like the Ling. But since he has a new string that's like pseudo down 3-4, like what Leroy has in Hermit down 3-4, what Hwoarang has in down 3, LFS down 3-4, LFF down 3-4, he has that in a certain stance as well, and that's major plus for him. And yeah, you're typically just gonna be waiting a lot, stepping a lot, and looking for your opportunity to get in. And of course, when you're pressuring, you have to Remember that Lei has many ways to get out, whether that be... Whoops, where's the backswing? Whether that be play dead, haha step out of the way, or do something low as a back 2. Or of course his DF2 is also really really good, similar in the same vein as Paul. He's got a good magic 4, FF3, catch you with similar ranges. He could play really really far, and he could play really really close depending on the stance that he's in. He'll dance around in that stance. And the backswing blow, I don't really know the input, but yeah. That's like the Lei matchup in a nutshell. Marduk. No, he could party hard too, just like Raven. Now his new move up forward 1-2 isn't exactly that great, because the only standing low Hwoarang has that he could punish is LFS down back 4. The rest of the Hwoarang's lows are all lows that, are high crushing lows. So or recovering crouching, so this move is completely useless. So it doesn't really do anything in the matchup, so you don't have to worry about that. So it's basically the same as soon as he got introduced in Season 2. And this other matchup's always been played. So you're gonna be stepping right. Again, he has a parry. Unchickenable. Straight into guessing game 25, 25, 25. So you don't want him to get that. You don't want him to get as much tackle opportunities. You want to limit as much tackle opportunities that he can get. And at the same time, not get way punished for being predictable and getting reversed. Or getting DF1 from range. If he does something like a 4-3 on block, make sure he's gonna typically win on a jab, but at the same time, you could win by moving a little bit and then just beat him. Or do it, check DF1+2, his jab will not win. Of course, he's also a big character, so even if he can give big damage and it's good Oki, Hwoarang can give him the same additional damage to Marduk, because he's extremely big and the big combos Hwoarang has are very, very good. Now, of course, he's also highly dependent in terms of positioning. Positioning is very important to Marduk as well, so don't give him wall position early as well. Moves to watch out for, of course, down back 2, very, very good. Down 3, sneaky low. QCF2. There you go, QCF2, the ender mill from Gigas down back 2. Again, this is far stronger. DF1. The jabs. 2-1. The jabs into VTS. VTS the low, down 1+2. VTS 1. The shove while standing 1-2. DF3 1+2. Oh, where is it? DF4 1+2. Alright. And yeah, that's basically the Marduk matchup. Next, so Armor King, similar to King, similar to Bob, Mishimas, Hwoarang. In terms of movement, searching it out, scouting it out. And of course he's got grabs as well, so if you can't break grabs, you're in major trouble. Of course you have grabs as well, so you could test him if you wanted to. Of course he's going to be moving around a lot more often. But his combo damage isn't that big compared to Hwoarang's and B&B's, so you'll be totally fine. His pokes just add up by the second, and typically he doesn't get to do a lot of big stuff, so you'll be fine in terms of all small mix-ups. Most of his big mix-ups involve doing big moves like down back 3 or grabs, typically. Everything else is just small fluff, because he's looking for big whiffs and just chipping away at your life and getting one dark upper to call it, or one grab to call it. So key moves, of course, dark upper, DF1, down 2, standing 4, down back 3, down 3, down 4. Down 4 is going to be a big load that you're always going to be fighting against. And of course, he's also a big character, so he's going to eat a lot of punishment when he gets launched because of the big combos Hwoarang has. And yeah, that's the Hwoarang Armor King matchup. Julia is also a troublesome matchup, just like Kazumi, Steve, Shaheen, Jin, whatever. Because she's very, very good at controlling and limiting Hwoarang's ability to start up and keeping it really, really small. Now, if characters like Kazumi, Steve, Shaheen were playing around with small negative frames or small plus frames, Julia's playing on high negative frames and maybe some small plus frames here and there. She's gonna be playing big negative game. It's like Law when he does down 2-3, that's what she's gonna be doing as well. She's gonna be playing with the big negatives and playing with crushes in between, whether they be hop kicks, QCF2, FF1 to go under a lot of stuff, down 4-1, down 3, down back 1, back 4, or forward 3, full crouch, bow and arrow, stuff like that. And she's very good also controlling the space even if she's pretty far. Lashing arrow is always going to be there, and DF2 is going to be the bane of your existence because DF2 won. This one, DF2 3-1, is very, very difficult to stop. Of course, you could beat all options that aren't DF3 2-1, but if you keep losing to this non-stop, you're always going to lose. And of course, if you're the opposing Julia has a really, really good war drum, it has really, really good range, and confirming on the war drum, you're in big trouble as well. She really loves the wall, and of course, she's also good at operating in neutral as well, and keeping Hwoarang in place with the small stuff and making sure you're second guessing a lot of negatives, because she'll throw out a power crush or maybe a really, really delayed FF1-4 or a crushing move, whether that be high, mid, low. Yeah, I'll get key moves, FF1, lashing arrow, war drums, bow and arrow, forward 3, 4, anything from DF2, down 3, DF1 if you're caught crouching, into DF3 1+2. DF3 is also a really good mid check. 1-2 into any spin cycle. Down DF1 into any spin cycle. Yeah, that's basically the Julia matchup. Negan, when he first came out, was already pretty solid. The other players weren't convinced, but he was already pretty solid, especially when he came to the Hwoarang matchup. Of course, just like Noctis, he was lacking. No, he has a standing down jab. Yeah, he has a standing down jab. But so it puts him in a better place compared to Yoshimitsu, Noctis, etc. But it wasn't a bat down jab, which is kind of unfortunate for Negan, but at the same time, it's fortunate for Hwoarang players, because if it was a bat down jab, it'd be big trouble. So Negan's got good punishment, at the same time he has a little backlash. He got buffed even more recently, given his way faster counter hit launcher, and a new low back in Season 3 or Season 2, where he got int down 2. So again, he's going to be playing typically, maybe somewhere in the Dragunov range as well, because he could control with FF2, and good punishment, and he's going to go straight into int a lot as well, to check you. Combo damage is fantastic as well, can match Hwoarang in that sense. So it's going to be a little bit, it hurts a lot if you get hit, and he's really, really good at small stuff as well. Sure, there's not a lot of plus range, but at the same time, it's just a small control that he can get. But it's not super hard compared to Kazumi, Steve, and Shaheen in that sense, but it's a level below, and that's still what makes it a little bit difficult to fight. So key moves would typically be the shove, DF2, int, intimidation down 2, down back 2, DF4, DF4 3, DF4 2, back 1+2, FC DF2, crouching down 2, DF1, DF1 strings, etc. And that's pretty much it. That's the Negan matchup. So in the similar vein as Lee, this is far more slippery and less gluey than Lili. But I say that in a way that she doesn't need to stick to win. She could either do it, stick to win, and move and deny all your options with her amazing movement, and the fact that a lot of moves just whiff on her sometimes, which is why you need to lab it very specifically. Or she could play the Eddy, hit and run, and she's gone. Typically it's just basic moves, not a lot of big stuff. Sometimes she doesn't even need to enter any of her stances, and you're in trouble. That's just how it is. Very, very good character. And of course, in some of her stances, you can't hit her, whether they be Mantis, Tarantula. Scarecrow, you can hit her most of, but at the same time, you have to worry about the Power Crush a lot. In Mantis and Scarecrow, Mantis and Tarantula, there's moves that won't hit, so you have to make sure you lab those specifically on what will hit after that move that transitions unblocked to those stances. Scarecrow is something you only have to worry about in terms of the Power Crush and one other move. That's about it. Scarecrow, I think, is 1+2, which gives her plus frames. Again, her Power Crush is also safe, so it's difficult to take your turn on that, because you could still maybe Power Crush or DF2. But you could still focus on taking that challenge. You crouch cancel, because it's forced crouch cancel into down 3-4 immediately, or down back forward. Key moves, 1-3, whether that enters Scarecrow or not. DF1, down 3, whether that enters Mantis or not. While standing 1-2. The way to beat this while standing 1-2 is that as soon as she does while standing 1 jabber, she can't win. She can't do anything after that. If she tries to delay while standing 1-2, the jabs always win, so just remember that. DF2, her Power Crush, back 3. FF2, big plus, keeps you advancing, and she just beat you in most ways forms. Yeah, so that's like the Zafina matchup. So Ganryu is also special, just like Feng and Jack, in the fact that he has a 10 frame. Oops. Oh, hello. There you go. 10 frame counter hit launcher. 10 frame counter hit freebie. Well, whichever they follow up for that is. But it hurts a lot, most definitely. That's what it does. I can tell you, most definitely it hurts a lot. And this is going to be a major offender in terms of preventing a lot of your pressure, even if his jab is like 12 frames. Once Ganryu starts rolling on Hwoarang has a decent number of options to get out, but at the same time, if Ganryu is just focusing on safe stuff, maybe like a DF3 into DF1 and then running away and then doing DF3 again, DF3, and then just doing that non-stop, it's very difficult to stop Ganryu with Hwoarang. And you still have to worry about back 1+2 and a few other crushing options that Ganryu has to prevent Hwoarang pressure. To either start it up or continue it. So key moves, again, I don't know the inputs of them. I know it's a headbutt, a DF1, DF3, 2-1 into any of this, 2-1 into TCH, 2-1 to the whole string. Again, that's terrible for you to get hit by. I would say the kick into mid string, but I don't know the input. So again, it's a mid to high, right? So it's right, you have to know. And he has the Salt Shaker. I don't know the input as well, but yeah. Those are the key moves of Ganryu. That's pretty much the Ganryu matchup. Moving on to the next one. Leroy Smith, as I mentioned earlier, is very difficult to pressure against simply because of back two. Back two and a bunch of Sabakis, and the fact that as soon as you get hit by the parry follow-up, you're -7 and there's a lot of stuff for you to deal with, whether that be a homing hell sweep, or an orbital, or down 1+2. And a lot of the retaliations are pretty much baits into back 1+2 or back 1 or another parry or orbital. So it's very difficult to... You're going to be playing a little bit slower against Leroy and playing more check-wise. So if you're against Steve, you're trying to bait. You're trying to follow the same game plan with a little bit of different nuance to it. With Leroy, you're just focusing on checking a lot. That's it. It's always check, 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 check. That's it. That's really all it is. So key moves here again, back 1+2, down 1+2, DF1, hell sweep, orbital, DF1, down 3-2, hermit 34. I don't think you need me to tell this, you know what it is. Next, so that's the Leroy matchup. We're moving on to the next one. So Hwoarang, again, the same vein as Leroy, but a little bit more different. You're not just focusing on checks this time. You can actually challenge him, most especially since they kind of nerfed his sidestep, so he's not evading a lot of stuff for a big character. So most especially when you get the launch, the challenge to get that big damage, you're getting a lot for the damage that he gives you back, because he's a big boy and you're gonna do all the big boy combos against Hwoarang. And he has also Hwoarang special combos because he's very, very long. He's longer than Miguel or Heihachi in terms of length, body length. His parries are a little bit different since they're not universal. He has to do the kick parry or the punch parry, so that's fine. At least it's a 50-50 guess, similar to Geese, for at least the player who's doing the parry. When it comes to dealing with the pressure, Hwoarang has some ways of dealing with most of the pressure, even the DF1 mix-ups, the standing 3 mix-ups, so it's totally fine. It's doable, and a lot of the lows are -14, 13, so you get your juicy while standing 4 into back 3 or while standing 4 into FF3. Neutral is more or less the same. You're trying to play it against like the typical characters, Kazumi, Shaheen, Lili, etc. Those type of guys. It's that kind of archetype. So of course, key moves. For the sake of it, he's gonna be doing stuff like back forward 4, 3, 3+4, DF1, down 4, down back 4, the hell sweep from full crouch or not, or from the DF1 cancels or the standing 3 cancels, 1, 2. And that's about, and of course down 2, which is an elbow. That's the annoying part about his down jab, it's an elbow. You can't low parry that, by the way. So that's the Hwoarang matchup. Yoshimitsu can play really, really far. Similar into Noctis' vein because of forward 2, or QCF1 is really, really good in side switches. She has FF2, she has the same Noctis FF1+2 and it's safe. Again, she's quite generally safe, but at the same time, she doesn't pack that much of a punch. Most of the time, she's gonna pack a punch is gonna involve the FC mix-ups, and that's pretty much about it. It's gonna be small mix-ups upon small mix-ups and really, really good movements similar to Zafina, so you have to mix how you're dealing with Steve, Leroy, and Zafina all together. That's how it is. This is basically that matchup. just with lesser damage, but when she gets that combo damage, most especially when she has rage, it hurts a lot. So again, key moves, QCF1, DF2, QCF1 plus 2, 4-2, 2-2, down back 2, down 3, down back 4, generic down 4. Again, that's gonna annoy you with a lot of characters. DF1, DF1 2, the mix-ups, QCF2, hot knee, 1-1-2, 1-1, 1-1 into any mix-up, which is avoidable, by the way. You can avoid most of those with back 1. And that's basically the Kunimitsu matchup, yeah. So that's been the Hwoarang versus everyone matchup notes. I hope you enjoyed. And please, if you enjoyed that, feel free to like this video, or the page, or subscribe to the channel, whatever. Again, if you have any other questions, this has been Open Hwoarang Lessons. Happens every Tuesday evening here in Philippine time, 8 to 10 in the evening. I've been Frontier, and this has been The Cheese. Thank you all for watching. There's way too many characters in this game. I don't know how I know all this sometimes. It's probably because I just played way too much, right?